As the White House continues its campaign against suspected Venezuelan drug boats, President Trump delivers another warning to President Nicolas Maduro's regime. He says he has not ruled out the possibility of sending U.S. troops into Venezuela.
So how far would you go to take Maduro out of office?
I don't want to say that,
But you want to see him out?
his days are numbered.
Can you rule out an American ground invasion?
I don't want to rule in or out. I don't talk about it.
Kentucky Senator Rand Paul sits on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee and is the chair of the Senate Homeland Security Committee, and he joins me now. I know, Senator, that you have concerns about President Trump going to war in Venezuela, or at the very least, mounting some sort of an invasion. Do you think that that is in the cards?
You know, I'm kind of old-fashioned. I kind of like to obey this thing called the Constitution. The Constitution says that war only occurs when it's declared by Congress. The president doesn't have the power to take the country to war. Now, if he does, he wouldn't be the first president to disobey the Constitution. But I think we should obey the Constitution because I think it makes war less likely. This would be a war of choice. It would be an offensive war, albeit a war to get rid of people most of us find distasteful. But it would be unconstitutional for the president to do this alone. So if he thinks he wants war with Venezuela, he should come and ask for permission from Congress the way it was intended.
You know, there are a lot of presidents in the past who have not come to Congress for permission to go to war. I happened to put together this list. Started with Truman in the Korean War, Johnson in the Vietnam War, Reagan, the Grenada invasion, as well as Libya, President Clinton, the Kosovo War, where we were bombing Syria, Obama, Libya, and ISIS, President Trump, Syria airstrikes, and the Soleimani strike. How could Congress stop the president this time?
I'm reminded of what my mother would tell me when I was a kid. 10 wrongs don't make a right. So the fact that 10 presidents have done it incorrectly doesn't make it right. Our founding fathers were united to a person. All those who signed, all those who debated over the Constitution, the Federalist Papers were unanimous that Congress should declare war. No president should on his own. Now, we have disobeyed that, but we do have the ability, if Congress rose up in a clear two-thirds majority and said no, we could overturn any veto. Rarely do you get two-thirds vote, so it is very hard to stop a president hell-bent on war. But you know, what I liked most about President Trump was his idea that he didn't believe in regime change war. He was against the Iraq war. He was against the war in Libya. So I hope that his instincts will prevail. I fear that there are people around him who have ulterior motives and are pushing him towards war, but I hope it won't come to that.
Well, he does seem to be interested in regime change in Venezuela. The president said the other day that Maduro's days are numbered. And a way that he's putting pressure on Maduro is with all of these strikes against these drug boats that are running either through the Caribbean or the Eastern Pacific. Here's what the president said about the possibility of releasing video of the second strike that occurred on September the 2nd. Listen here.
Mr. President, you said you would have no problem with releasing the full video of that strike on September 2nd off the coast of Venezuela. Secretary Hegseth now says...
You said that. I didn't say that. This is ABC fake news.
You said that you would have no problem releasing the full bit. Okay, well, Secretary Hegseth...
No, whatever Hegseth wants to do is okay with me.
He now says it's under review. Are you ordering the secretary to release that full video?
Whatever he decides is okay with me.
The president had said earlier, about a week earlier, that he would have no problem with that second video coming out. Do you believe it should be released, Senator?
Yes, without question. I think if people were to see the images of people clinging to the wreckage, there would not be much sympathy for Secretary Hegseth. To order the killing of people who are shipwrecked is clearly illegal according to military justice, according to our own military laws. And, you know, I have members of my staff who are high-ranking in the military, and they tell me this is done for the protection of our soldiers. If our pilots have to eject from a plane, we show that we don't shoot people. We don't shoot pilots that are descending by parachute. If we blow up a boat and there are survivors, we don't shoot those people. We don't sidle up in a boat and take a 9mm pistol out, put it to their head and shoot them. Nobody would do that. But just because the missiles come from a long distance doesn't make it any more right. But it's clearly against our laws of war. And even deeper than that, there is a question of, are unarmed people that are smugglers part of a war? Are we in the middle of a war with unarmed people? Why don't they present evidence that they're in arms? Why don't they present evidence that these boats are even coming to the United States? These are small motorboats, often 2,000 miles from our shore. If they have drugs, which hasn't been proven, if they have drugs, they're probably taking it to neighboring islands. So this is a crazy thing that we've never done before. And to make a crime into war is to stretch credulity to the point that I think a lot of common sense people don't buy it.
Well, President Trump seems to be aiming at the supply chain of drugs that come to this country and kill an awful lot of people every year. As you know, Admiral Bradley gave a briefing to members of Congress last week. Here's what the Wall Street Journal said after that briefing. This is the editorial board. Congress is investigating whether the Trump administration fired on defenseless survivors on a drug boat, and the emerging details suggest this story is less than it initially appeared. But the episode still carries lessons about command accountability and larger questions about the Trump war in the Caribbean. I think Bradley told members of Congress that there were members of the Judge Advocate General's office, lawyers, who were following along every step of the strike against this boat on September the 2nd. And they said that he was within his legal bounds, according to Admiral Bradley, to take it out.
I guess my question would be, if the Admiral were there on the scene and he came up in a follow-up boat, would he take his 9mm pistol out and put it up against the head of the survivors and shoot them in the head? See, it's easy to countenance, oh, I just push a button, I'm in an air-conditioned room 10,000 miles away, and I antiseptically blow these people up. But you know, a month later, they didn't do it. Because I think somebody finally said, oh my God, you know what, we just read the military justice, law of justice, and we're not supposed to kill survivors. And you know what they did a month later? They picked up 2 people who weren't from Venezuela. They didn't prosecute them for drugs. They collected no drugs. They collected no weapons. They just said, oh, go back home. And they sent them back to Colombia and to Ecuador. They're not even Venezuelans. And so no, when you allege that someone is on a drug boat, you should prove it. 1 out of 4 boats that the Coast Guard boarded before we came up with this blow them to smithereens policy, 1 out of 4 didn't have any drugs. So are we willing to accept an error rate of 1 in 4 and kill people on these boats when we might be wrong 1 in 4 times? I think this is a tragedy.
Well, hopefully we'll see that second video soon, and we'll be able to figure it out for ourselves. Senator, good of you to spend time with us today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.